Hi guys, it's me. I'm taking advantage of my kids being in a Zoom meeting and doing a quick demo of how to make pastry cream today. Pastry cream is basically just a fancy word for custard. So I'm just gonna go over the ingredients and how to put it all together. Fairly simple, and then you can use it for fun things like fillings or making the very British dessert called trifle, and or just eat it straight out of the bowl, which normally is what happens at our house. So stay tuned.
All right, in order to make pastry cream or custard, in my case I'm making vanilla custard, you need 2 cups of milk, and I'll write down all these ingredients on the post below so you have it to make for later. You need 2 eggs, 4 ounces or about half a cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I have about a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract here. So what you're going to do is start off with pouring the milk into a nice pan. You want to make sure you're not using an aluminum pan, because believe it or not, when we make custard, the aluminum, there's something in the aluminum that gives off a color and it makes your custard gray. So you either want to use a stainless steel pan is best to make the custard. So we're going to put all the milk in the pan, and we're going to take about half of the sugar and pour it into the milk. That's about half. And then you're going to put this on the stove and let the sugar dissolve and let it scald. So I'm going to move towards the left because I'm in my home kitchen, so it doesn't work very well otherwise. So I'm going to put that on my stove on medium-low heat. And I also forgot to mention that you also need about 2 ounces of butter, but that's for later. So while that's heating up, you're going to take a bowl, make sure it's clean, and you're going to put the rest of the sugar and the cornstarch and also a pinch of salt. My cornstarch had a pinch of salt in there. The salt, we add salt to everything we bake or make because it brings all the flavors together. So you're going to whisk those 2 things together just to remove any lumps. And then when that is done, you want to keep an eye on your milk because you don't want that to overflow there. You're going to put the eggs in there and whisk those. Put all the stuff on the side. And you're going to continue whisking this until what we call a ribbon is formed. So you'll see that it naturally leaves sort of a trail. The whisk leaves a trail in the mixture. So you know how I'm whisking, I don't know if you can see, but it kind of leaves sort of a ribbon behind. And then you wait till the milk is scalded. All right, my milk is about to sort of get to the point where it's scalding. So just give it a minute or so. It's almost there. You can see all the steam coming out. Meanwhile, I just periodically keep whisking the egg mixture. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pour in about 1/3 of this milk into the egg mixture. This is a process called tempering. So you temper the egg mixture to bring it to sort of the same temperature as the milk. And here we go. And while you're doing that, you want to keep mixing or whisking the egg mixture because you don't want the eggs to curdle or cook. So that's how you do it. And then you pour the rest of this egg milk mixture back into the milk And you want to do this off the heat. And then once it's all in there, you're going to turn the heat to like sort of a medium-low. And I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon, not use the, I have a little bit left in here, and not use the whisk because I don't want to create air bubbles in my mixture. So now is the most tedious part of making custard. So you just have to wait for it to thicken. But while you're doing that, you have to stir it constantly because you don't want the pastry cream to curdle. And if you do see like steam coming out of it, I would suggest taking it off of the stove because that means it's getting too hot. And it honestly doesn't take very long. When I was in pastry art school, they told us a neat trick where they would tell us to count backwards from 60, and that's usually the amount of time it takes for, and slowly though. So, and that's usually the amount of time it takes for it to thicken. And you also want to get rid of the cornstarch flavor that we put in there. You don't want your pastry cream to taste like cornstarch. So actually moving this to low now, because as you can, I don't know if you can tell, maybe turn this light off, that it's already starting to get thick. So we're just gonna keep doing that, and I'm gonna count in my head until this is nice and thick. Once this is done, we're gonna add the butter, softened butter, the 2 ounces, and the vanilla extract. Now, if you wanted to flavor this something else, you could definitely do chocolate. You can do any flavor really, whatever you feel like. I prefer vanilla because I like the taste of that, and it goes well with the trifle that we make at home. You can also, once this is cooled off, you can add whipped heavy cream or mix it into your pastry cream, and it makes it a lighter, sort of a Bavarian cream, and that also works great for fillings and stuff. So I think this is pretty thick. Once it starts bubbling, you also know that you're ready to go. So I'm just going to take this off the heat, but I'm going to keep stirring it because I know it's super hot. I'm going to add my vanilla in there and my butter that I should have peeled out before, but that's all right. And the butter just gives it extra richness and flavor. If you wanted to omit it, you could totally omit it, but it adds more texture and flavor to your pastry cream. And the custard's ready. You want to store it in an airtight container, but before you close the container, I usually put a piece of saran wrap on top of this and poke a couple holes, so it allows or prevents a crust forming on top of this. I let it sit out on the counter for a bit because it's super hot, and then when it's sort of lukewarm or whatever, then I stick it in the fridge. And the colder it gets, the thicker it gets as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pastry cream for you guys. I hope you give it a try. If you do, leave comments below and let me know how it goes. See ya.